In a time marked by tension and war, the Custos of the Holy Land, Brother Francesco Patton, makes a heartfelt appeal, an invitation to prayer for peace addressed to the entire world. Amid tensions from an ongoing conflict, the solemnity of Corpus Christi was celebrated with deep devotion at the Holy Sepulcher. It is the heavenly bread that nourishes and strengthens the Church in the Holy Land. The Institute of the Incarnate Word and the parish of Bethlehem celebrated the 20th anniversary of the foundation of Hogar Niño Dios, a place of welcome and support for people with disabilities among the most vulnerable in society. Before the latest escalation in the Middle East, a conference was held to mark 60 years since the Nostra Aetate Declaration, the document that opened dialogue between the Catholic Church and Judaism. We also visited the Cave of King Zedekiah in Jerusalem, a historic place rich with legends and ancient stories.
Da Gerusalemme, dalla Terra Santa, desidero far arrivare a tutti un appello, un invito a pregare per la pace. Sappiamo che la preghiera è...
From Jerusalem, from the Holy Land, I want to send everyone an appeal, an invitation to pray for peace. We know that prayer is, so to speak, the only weapon we are allowed to use. It is a weapon that does not cause destruction, does not bring death, does not shed blood, but rather produces good in people's consciences. So invite all of you who care about the Holy Land to pray insistently for peace. I would also like to invite the world of politics to make choices in favor of peace. Saint Francis reminded the powerful of his time that one day they would have to appear before the judgment of God. Let us remember, it is not only the judgment of voters that counts, but also the judgment of God. And to all those who bear responsibility and who sit at the United Nations, I would like to say, reread the Charter of Principles you signed on the day you asked to sit in the United Nations Assembly. Examine your conscience. Are you living and promoting those principles, or are you betraying them?
Avete chiesto di poter sedere al consesso delle Nazioni Unite e fate un esame di coscienza se quei principi li state vivendo e promuovendo o li state tradendo.
Due to the ongoing conflict and following civil protection guidelines, the celebration of the Most Holy Body and Blood of Christ at the Basilica of the Holy Sepulcher was held in a simple and semi-private form. The liturgy was organized by the friars of the Custody of the Holy Land with support from the community of the Holy Sepulcher, who welcomed the participants in a spirit of fraternity.
Celebriamo oggi la festa del Corpus Christi solennemente qui al Santo Sepolcro.
Today we celebrate the feast of Corpus Christi solemnly here at the Holy Sepulchre, even though yesterday few people could attend the celebration in the Basilica due to restrictions and the difficult political situation. In the meantime, we continue to pray. Even if the Basilica is closed, we celebrate Holy Mass every day and pray for peace. The daily procession also takes place regularly, walking through the holy places of the Lord's death, burial and resurrection.
I vari santuari della morte e sepoltura e risurrezione del Signore. Cerchiamo di pregare per la pace.
The solemn celebrations at the Holy Sepulchre began Wednesday afternoon with first Vespers, followed by the traditional daily solemn procession. At 6 p.m. the friars prayed Compline in front of the edicule. They then returned after midnight for the office of readings, presided over by Brother Francesco Patton, Custos of the Holy Land. The reading of the sacred texts marked a moment of deep meditation, accompanied by singing and prayerful silence. On Thursday morning, a small group returned to help organize the liturgy, along with a modest participation of the local community of Christians and religious sisters.
It's a special feast, especially this year and especially these days, These last weeks I came here because of the situation. I come here every year. Jesus Christ in the Holy Communion is our hope, and we will hope that peace will come.
The celebration began with morning lauds, followed by the Holy Mass presided over by Cardinal Pierbattista Pizzaballa, Latin Patriarch of Jerusalem.
Siamo una comunità piccola, siamo veramente come i discepoli.
We are a small community, truly like the disciples in the Gospel, a few loaves and a few fish. But what we have, we share. Our Christian way of life is not to say, like the disciples did, send the crowd away or walk off or give up. It's to stay and collaborate with all who want to help, especially those truly suffering from hunger. I'm thinking of our brothers in Gaza, but also of all who are in need. We cannot solve all problems, but we can be a place of encounter and consolation. The Eucharist is the bread of life for the world. Man does not live by bread alone, but by every word that comes from the mouth of God, Jesus says. And that word is Jesus himself, who in the Eucharist becomes bread broken for us. And this is what we need most, especially now, in this time of great sorrow. The Institute of the Incarnate Word of the parish of Bethlehem celebrated the 20th anniversary of the founding of Hogar Niño Dios, in a place of welcome and support for people with disabilities among the most vulnerable in society. For 20 years, this house has borne witness to the living presence of Christ through a message of love and works of mercy. The Thanksgiving Mass was presided over by the Latin Patriarch of Jerusalem, Cardinal Pierbattista Pizzaballa, on June the 14th in the parish church of St. Catherine in Bethlehem.
De caridad porque cuidamos hoy 39 niños discapacitados.
Charity. This is the heart of our mission. Today we care for 39 children with disabilities. Some were abandoned and come from the area of Bethlehem and Hebron. Some were left alone, others belong to families who, due to their fragility, are unable to care for them. For them, we want to be, and for the past 20 years we have been, a home, a hearth, a family that welcomes them with love. This is how we bear witness, day by day, that only the love of Christ will save the world, as Saint Luigi Orione reminded us.
Y también la casa quiere ser un testimonio de paz, porque acogemos en nuestra casa niños cristianos, niños musulmanes.
The Hogar Niño Dios home also wants to be a witness to peace. We welcome Christian and Muslim children side by side. We want to offer the world a concrete sign of the peace Christ came to bring. We want to be instruments of God's mercy, so that His love may reach our children and youth who share His life with us.
The Institute of the Incarnate Word has been present in the Holy Land for decades. They offer silent yet impactful service to the weakest, the sick and the marginalized, even in the most difficult situations. In Gaza, their daily presence takes the form of care homes, educational paths and accompanying the suffering. They are a true seed of hope and a living witness to the gospel.
The
sisters and religious of the Institute of the Incarnate Word have placed at the center of their lives the charism of love for the Incarnation. They have always marked their presence in our diocese by serving the poorest and the most fragile realities of life, often the most abandoned. In a delicate regional context marked by the conflict between Iran and Israel, Cardinal Pizzaballa emphasized, in these days, but really for far too long, we have witnessed the language of power, of force, of violence and domination. Here, we experience it firsthand, and once again, we see it clearly in these times. Behind it all are the consequences, pain, suffering, hatred, rejection, realities we unfortunately live with daily. It is also a language of falsehood, which now seems to dominate the world. If we look at our lives only in the present moment, it may seem there is no room for the future, no place for hope. But if we look at the history of the Church, and even our personal histories, we see how God, despite everything, still acts and makes his kingdom grow. Faced with war, hatred, poverty and illness, the servants of the Lord and the Virgin of Matara become a luminous presence, like angels who embody the word of the Lord. I am the way. On June the 11th and 12th, an international academic conference was held at the Open University of Israel in Ra'anana to mark 60 years since the promulgation of the Nostra Aetate Declaration by Pope Paul VI in 1965. The declaration addresses the relationship of the Catholic Church with non-Christian religions, including Judaism, Islam, Buddhism, Hinduism, and other religious traditions.
So, first of all, we are celebrating 60 years of that document that really revolutionized how we as Catholics speak about people who have a different faith from our own. Of course, I think that the goal of true fraternity is perhaps not to convert you to how I think, but that we together can embark on a journey, and an essential part of that journey is repairing this broken world that we live in.
Nostra Aetate, which means in our time, remains highly relevant today in Jewish-Christian relations. It has helped open new paths for dialogue and mutual recognition. This conference explored the legacy of the declaration, its impact on the relationship between the two religious traditions, and future perspectives, while also addressing political issues and contemporary conflicts. The French Institute of Culture in Israel, a partner of the event, contributed with the participation of several professors and experts. The first goal is to understand the intellectual and spiritual origins in the context of World War II and the Holocaust, to see how those early innovations emerged, which led to Vatican II, where Nostra Aetate was part of a great transformation of the Church. But we also study how Nostra Aetate has been received in the Christian world. For researcher Yiska, who has long worked in this field, the events of the 7th of October 2023 strained relationships and tested the path that still must continue.
This is the land of three religions, and we have to dialogue with all the religions here. Even if we're a little bit disappointed now, even if we're frustrated, listen, this is an issue, and we will continue to build a relationship, because if we're not going to continue the building of relationship, bridges will collapse. If you don't build, they collapse. And we cannot afford that.
To build good relationships, we must learn to listen and to look at the present reality with new eyes. Everyone is seeking truth, which is not an abstract idea, but a person.
We are trying to educate or to teach about it, but it's still a minority that knows about what happened in the Catholic Church and the change in the attitude towards the Jews. I think the most important thing is to learn, to learn to study. We, the Jews, will study Christianity. We'll study about Christianity, about the different streams, about the different parts of the Christian world, and also the Christians should learn and study what is Judaism and what is Judaism today in the State of Israel.
Father Neuhaus also spoke about the contribution of the popes, from John the 23rd to Pope Leo the 14th, in supporting various initiatives of dialogue and mutual understanding.
So I think that we can expect this journey to continue, relationships to deepen, and the commitment to build a better world to get stronger.
Jerusalem's time tunnels lead us underground to a limestone quarry, ideal for building palaces. It's located about 100 meters from Damascus Gate and is known as the Cave of King Zedekiah.
This cave, this quarry, is like the womb of Jerusalem. From here came the stones used to build the city above.
The cave spans about 9,000 square meters beneath homes in the Muslim quarter. It is described in a book by a 14th century Franciscan who claimed to have walked a long way inside by candlelight and said it could hold up to 10,000 people.
And for a good distance, that it could contain 10,000 men.
Tradition says the quarry was active during the time of the First Temple, going back to the days of King Solomon. This is based on the biblical account of Solomon building the temple. Solomon also had 70,000 carriers and 80,000 stone cutters in the hills. The king commanded them to quarry large, high-quality stones for the foundation of the temple. For this reason, the cave is also known as Solomon's Quarry.
Analysis of the stones that make up the western wall showed that they are geologically identical to the rocks in Zedekiah's cave. However, we have no archaeological evidence proving the quarry was in use 1,000 years ago in Solomon's time.
Many traditions are tied to this cave. The best known involves the escape of King Zedekiah, the last king of Judah, during the Babylonian destruction of the First Temple. That story gave the cave its name.
צדקיהו הוא בעצם המלך האחרון של יהודה, והוא מבית דוד, והוא...
Zedekiah was the last king of Judah from the Davidic line. Tradition says he fled with his family and wealth from the city of David, about 1 kilometer from here, through underground passages, eventually reappearing in Jericho.
This event is described in chapter 52 of the book of Jeremiah. The prophet warned the king not to rebel against the Babylonians. The text reads, "A breach was made in the city, and all the soldiers fled. They escaped by night through the gate between the two walls near the king's garden. But the Chaldean army pursued the king and overtook him in the plains of Jericho. They captured the king and brought him to the king of Babylon at Riblah. The king of Babylon killed the sons of Zedekiah before his eyes. Then he put out Zedekiah's eyes and bound him with bronze chains, taking him to Babylon, where he remained imprisoned until the day of his death."
Inside the cave is a spring that has been known for at least 1,000 years. It's called the Spring of Zedekiah's Tears.
According to tradition, the king's tears still flow there, a sign of his sorrow over Jerusalem's destruction.
If King Zedekiah escaped from this place, it's possible that the Ark of the Convent is hidden here too.
In fact, archaeologists cannot say almost anything about that, but according to the scriptures, the Holy Scriptures, we have different histories about the final places of the Ark.
In 1873, an engraving of a winged creature was found on a cave wall. It resembled the cherubim atop the Ark's cover. Researchers say it may have been made by someone who returned from Babylonian captivity and had seen such images, or by someone who had seen them in the temple and wanted to create a symbol of protection for this place. Beneath the floor, a tunnel was found with features typical of the Christian period.
אנחנו כן יכולים להגיד שהתעלה הזאת יש בה חלקים בנויים, קירות,
The walls are built in a style that strongly resembles Crusader architecture. There is a secret here still waiting to be uncovered. I hope in the coming years we can resume excavations to discover what other mysteries lie hidden in this cave, already full of secrets, stories, and traditions.
ולהבין מה זה הסוד הנוסף שיש במערה הזאת, שגם ככה מלאה בסודות וסיפורים ואגדות.
Open yourself to a gesture of solidarity and support the mission of the custody of the Holy Land. The Christian Media Center spreads the good news of Jesus by making known to the world the spirituality of the holy places and the lives of the Christians who live here. Your contribution will help us bring the proclamation of the risen Lord, the most urgent of all, to men and women of every language and nation. To help us concretely, open the QR code. Your choice makes a difference.